practice is to gaze into your eyes, smile at yourself, notice your smile. There's going to be a balance between loving and accepting exactly what is and knowing that we actually have the ability to change a lot more things than we realize. It's all muscles and it's all movement. So I've noticed over the years that, and these are things that typically I would notice the most about myself, and others would say, oh, I never noticed. And you're going to notice things about you that nobody would ever notice. But for example, if I'm smiling in the mirror, I might say, oh, this side doesn't feel like it says activated as this side. And I can make more awareness that I want an even smile and I want to feel that the muscles activated on both sides. So while you're loving yourself and looking at yourself, you're also noticing, oh, when I rest my face, my muscles drop down. How could I adjust my muscles to create a peaceful feeling? Because sometimes there is a level of fake it till you make it, but also, creating your countenance, like we make jokes about the standing or the resting bitch face, which is really just a tired face that can be massaged and loved and activated through gua sha tools, oils, smiling, loving. So I invite you to play around with how you're receiving your reflection and accepting it as it is. And there are places where we get to take action as well and finding that balance. And again, that's the feminine of compassion, loving, acceptance, and the masculine of like, okay, well, we can also do something about it at the same time. So I invite you to smile. It's like, how do your lips look when you smile? How do they curve around your teeth? What does it look like when you flirt with your smile? And everything is an opportunity. It's all a meditation, really, of what comes up. You might be like, oh, I don't even know how to flirt. I don't even know what my smile looks like. Or maybe you know it really well and you shine it easily. Or maybe you're good at shining it to yourself, but not others. These are all things in this first week that is information, interesting information to gather up and to write down in your journal. You will have prompts given to you, and those will help you keep track of, where you're at right now. So mirror work is really shadow work in a lot of ways because we are looking at our reflection and feeling what might come up as resistance. We're literally looking at it in every angle, in every light. And my experience is that I've come a really long way by being okay with literally all the angles. Like, I'm sure we all know, like, there's a moment where you catch yourself in your phone and you're, in some position that's not the most flattering. And those used to horrify me. I used to be like, no way, that's not me. I'm only the palatable pictures or the pretty pictures. And over the last little while, I've made a lot of peace, which I feel is the shadow for me of if you're not beautiful, then as a female, then what are you or what do you have, and owning all the different sides of us and all the different facets, and that I can be ugly, quote unquote, in one moment, or less beautiful in one moment, and one moment beautiful. So there is a feeling of getting to embrace every side because the shadow is afraid of not being enough, not being loved enough for whatever reason, and insert your own um, fears or core wounds in there. But looking at yourself in the mirror and loving every part is a huge piece. Up until, again, I've been doing this for such a long time, but up until about a year, I'd say about a year ago, when I made, I think, in your head the things you need to work on, but it's integrating it and really making that shift. So about a year ago, I think I finally hit a point where I realized, okay, I've got to revisit how I first look at myself. Like the first glance of myself in the mirror in the morning used to be a negative thought, like, oh, I look tired, or oh, I've got these wrinkles, or something that was not supportive. And I feel like we're ready to make those changes when we're ready to make them, and I was ready, and I shifted. And every morning now, my first glance in the mirror is of a positive reflection back to me. And, you know, for each of us, it's a journey of burning out, moving through the resistance to accepting who we are, what our many facets are. Yeah, so I can't really stress enough the amazing opportunities to just observe what is coming up and love it, and recognize if there is an action to take or just a beautiful acceptance to take. Um, so a lot of this is really building our toolbox. This whole 13-week integration is creating a toolbox so that you can become familiar with a daily devotion to yourself, to uncovering your erotic essence. And as we move through the weeks, you're going to have more tools so that when you show up in the mirror, and maybe it isn't a day that you are finding the positive outlook, you have other tools that you can add to support you in this. It's really beautiful, powerful work. And for me, it all comes down to becoming the one for yourself first, whether you're in partnership or not, or calling in your king. It all starts with being your own divine feminine and divine masculine in union within yourself. And then all kinds of incredible opportunities can unfold, because when we marry those two parts within us and develop that sacred inner union, our frequency elevates, and we're calling in the relationships that we desire on another level. We're calling in people that can meet us at this new frequency, because we're meeting ourselves in this way with such supportive, deep love. So the divine mother archetype, I think we've been working in our culture with this idea that whether we had a mother that knew how to mother us or not, or whatever spectrum that was on, it's been our work as adults to become the mother that we felt was missing in our lives, to show up with compassion and acceptance and vulnerability, and to give ourselves the ability, permission to feel. Because while we're in this environment and we're looking in the mirror, or we're tapping into our erotic essence and uncovering it, we're going to come up against resistance and old ways and old thinking, and that might trigger us to feeling upset or frustrated or sad. And we want to feel safe to be vulnerable and to feel the things that we want to feel or we need to feel so they can move through us. It's a very feminine way of being. But if the next part of us, which I'll call the divine father archetype, doesn't give us that permission, says, okay, that's enough, buck up, you've felt sad enough, go move on with your day. That's not honoring the presence that you need. That's not honoring the emotions that need to flow. So the divine father is that father energy that we may or may not have had, that was going to protect us as young maidens and teach us about our self-worth, and teach us about boundaries, and teach us how valuable and beautiful we were, and that we needed to, as we went out into the world, protect ourselves for a certain number of reasons. Many of us as young maidens did not know that, hence all kinds of experiences that we would have gone through to come up against having to learn boundaries and protection and self-worth. So now we are also becoming our divine father. We can have a partner and we can have our king who also offers us that. But even before that, we must offer it to ourselves, because we are the ones who are going to show up for ourselves 100% for the rest of our lives. And we are the ones we can trust 100% if we keep showing up and keeping our word. So it's going to be a beautiful dance, and I'm inviting you this week to just begin to notice your inner feminine mothering principle and how strong that is, or where you feel challenged, and your inner protective father divine archetype energy, and how that plays out in you, and if that's been cultivated or where it might lack still and where that can be worked on. Yeah, I really, really have benefited greatly from figuring out separating that in myself, so I understand that I'm responsible for protecting my heart and allowing myself to be vulnerable. And this 13-week journey is an opportunity to be vulnerable and to see what comes up when we give ourselves permission to explore and feel. So, as we, just consider some of our old patterns, I'll just share a little one about myself. Like, there's candles that I have, beautiful beeswax candles around my home that for a really long time I didn't bother to light because I was saving them for when somebody came over. And I noticed this habit in myself that like it wasn't enough for just me. And I shifted and started to think, you know, it's like a heroic act for me to light that candle just for me, just so I can enjoy it. And I had written a poem about it. And at the end, it said, so just light the fucking candle, like light the fucking candle, which I'm going to do right now. So if there's something in your life that you deny yourself, that you notice you have a story of why you don't deserve it, consider that as well as part of your altar, as part of your devotion to yourself each week. So I'm lighting my fucking candle for myself.